that. Hey, what is up, friend and fellow anti-netter? Scott Shepard here. Hope all is well. What I want to show you and take you through today is a practice that I have been doing for some time now. It's been several months of doing this, and honestly, I haven't been consistent with this. I started it about like in June of last year, and then I stopped for like 6 months. And I've just picked it up again, like maybe like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And the practice is something I'm going to show you. It's something I talk a lot about. I call the concept neuro imprinting. When you write stuff out by hand, you're able to pick up subtleties. This is why I write instead of speak professionally. Subtleties, and be able to like imprint good prose, good writing, good style onto your mind. And so let me just show you and take you through what I did today and kind of the overall practice. And yes, there's the trusty old anti-net Zettelkasten there. And let me put this back here because I kind of set this up for the video. Let me move this away. So usually I have this just sitting in the center component in my desk, okay? And what you'll find is, what I've really enjoyed doing lately, and I recommend you can pick up any good book with good writing, good prose in it. For me, that is The Great Gatsby. This piece of work just resonated with me. To be quite frank, I freaking hated it in high school. In fact, I hated it pretty much anything to do with books in school in high school. I was conditioned to thinking that I was, a class clown and stupid. So I didn't thrive in high school, believe it or not. It's only when I got to college and like by some miracle still got into college, even though I went through high school and proudly never did any homework. I don't know how I did it. I would just 10 minutes before class, I would just rush my stuff and get my assignments done. But I somehow got into college. And in college is when I really kind of developed a love for reading, thinking, writing, all of that stuff. And I had to really retrain myself from the ground floor in high school or in college. I basically didn't really do a lot of academic work in high school, so I had to catch up. Anyway, I hated reading this book in high school, but I grew to love it later on, I think my senior year of college, and I loved the style. So a practice that I have been doing, I start, my days with this cube timer, and I put it on maybe 15 minutes, only 15 minutes. And during that 15 minutes, before I get into anything else, okay, I just spend time. I put this, this book down like this, like so. I actually affix it. I put it under this lamp. Let's see if I can do this one-handed. We'll see how skilled I am. Okay, sorry, don't try not to vomit as you're watching this. All right, so there it is. God, that was freaking hard. Jesus Christ. I put the book like this, okay, and I have the little lamp as a little holder for the page. And then what I do is I have a special notebook for this. And sometimes I actually have a section in my own anti-net Zettelkasten for my neuro imprinting section, which is in the 500s. But for this piece of work, I've just found it more enjoyable to dedicate a notebook, like a Moleskine notebook. And literally, I just started writing it out by hand. So here's The Great Gatsby. It starts with, in my younger and more vulnerable years, my father told me something that I've been turning over in my mind ever since, okay? And I will just do this. It's like a form of meditation, but I think it's better than meditation because you end up picking up some good prose, some good, pieces of writing. And what I'll do is I'll underline things that stand out to me in writing. I like this. I lived at West Egg, the less fashionable of the two. So I like that style. You see how he goes, I lived at West Egg, and then he goes the dash, that's an M dash, the less fashionable of the two. It just flows nicely if you read it inside your own mind. And so that's why I underlined it. And, you know, I lived at West Egg, the less fashionable of the two, though this is a most superficial tag to express the bizarre and not a little sinister contrast between them. So like just that piece of prose, that piece of writing is something that I can now go back and kind of refresh my mind whenever I'm writing my own piece per month. And here's just like, an overview of what I've done, right? And I even have like comments, like I have my other great trusty old pen with this has green ink in it, and I'll like write some comments on like noticing specific stuff. And I'll do this for like 15 minutes a day. Something that I recommend you try out yourself. You can choose your own book, your own piece of writing that you want to internalize. And another quick thing I'll show you, this is really cool, is I have one of the manuscripts that Scott Fitzgerald wrote of the Great Gatsby. This is, I think you'll see which one this is. Let me open this one-handed. Again, we'll try this. So this is, okay, so I have the 1791st version of this manuscript. Like they only printed 1800 of these things, so I barely slipped in. And so what's interesting, this is Scott Fitzgerald's manuscript. You'll notice that it is also written by hand. He wrote it in pencil, and it's interesting. He had these super sharp pencils that he wrote with. His secretary would like sharpen his pencils, and you'll notice like, this is how he wrote it. He did not, you would see here, he did not erase his mistakes. He just crossed them out. So it was almost like he was writing with a pen. He wrote in cursive, and his writing is kind of hard to read, but it's kind of nice. Look at all these sections he would cross out, right? And just look at all of these things. It's crazy. And it just goes to show the whole anti-net way, which is the deliberate way, the slow way, writing by hand and thinking, is something that actually can have unexpected benefits, like, for instance, producing and creating one of the greatest pieces of literature ever written, right? And if you are a subscriber of the Scott Shepherd letter, then you already know how my whole anti-net writing process, I laid it out in six steps in issue number 4 of the Scott Shepherd letter. And I just finished, I don't want to spoil too much, but I just finished today, and I started it yesterday. I just finished issue number 6 of the Scott Shepherd letter. So it's like the same thing. You can kind of see, here's, the Great Gatsby. Here's, like, I have a ton of stuff crossed out. Look at all those sections crossed out, maybe cut. This is issue number 6 of the Scott Shepherd letter. And you'll see. I started it yesterday around 11 a.m., whenever I get to my office here. And I finished it today. It's like, I finished it around like 4 p.m. today, and I took a few breaks. And you can just see, this is the process, man. It just flows so much better when you just sit down right by hand. And there's the end, right? And, this model, in this issue number 6 of the Scott Shepherd letter, I talk about, I've, essentially uncovered and devised, which I conceptually show. I drew it out. Let's find that drawing. I basically only spent a few days per month, writing something like this out by hand. There's like the model. I don't want to spoil it. And just like, so it was, for this month, it took me 2 days to write it out by hand. And in doing this, I make a killer, comfortable, awesome 6-figure living doing this. And actually in issue number 6, I lay out the core physical component, the core physical framework in doing this. Like, there's of course the metaphysical component involved, which is like, how do you, position yourself? How do you, express yourself in your own niche and your own market, all that stuff. But really fundamentally the physical component of doing this and being able to write one thing a month by hand and make a killer, comfortable, six-figure income doing so is something that I lay out in issue number 6 of the Scott Shepard letter. But I don't want to shill it. I don't even want to give it away. Hopefully you guys haven't zoomed in too close on it. But yeah, that is the behind the scenes, the making of it. But the main idea, the main thing I wanted to get across in this video is the practice of writing out your favorite book or your favorite thing by hand. It is super powerful. The very greats did it, and I recommend you copy the greats. Write out F. Scott Fitzgerald or write out some other book by hand. And, even if you don't want to become a writer, and hey, I would still recommend it, hands down, because it's a way better, way more enjoyable process than frickin' sitting there and meditating and doing nothing. So if I haven't pissed off all of you Eastern meditation folks by now, then there you go. So that's it. I'll turn this around now since I'm pretty much not really showing you anything else. And yeah, hopefully you can see me. I don't know, whatever. But anyway, that's it. Hope this helped and hope you got something out of this. So practice trying to write something out by hand, even just 15 minutes a day. And I do it before I start any serious work because, life's too short to just chase achievement-oriented things. Slow down and start every single day with what matters most. And that is developing your mind, thinking, writing, and being a badass in your own mind. Anyway, peace and love, and stay crispy, my friend.